Welcome to The Explainer. For more than 60 years, NASA has been our window to the cosmos. But alongside these incredible achievements, a shadow world of conspiracy theories has grown. So today, we're going to peel back the layers and separate the hard science from the hidden secrets.
You know, for decades, this one question has fueled this huge debate. On one side, you've got these incredible claims of secret alien contact and ancient ruins on other planets. And on the other, you have the official story, methodical science, radio signals, and verifiable proof. It's a classic tale of what we're told versus what some people believe is really going on behind the curtain.
So, let's really dive into both sides of this cosmic coin, shall we? You've got the cover-up story, which talks about everything from faking missions entirely to hiding entire alien cities. And then you have the science story, this patient, data-driven search for answers, one radio signal at a time. We're going to start with maybe the most famous conspiracy of them all.
Okay, first up, the theory that humanity's single greatest achievement was actually our greatest deception. The claim here is that the Apollo moon landings never happened, that they were all faked, filmed in some secret studio, maybe even directed by Stanley Kubrick himself.
This is the big one, right? It's one of the main pieces of evidence for people who think the landings were just a movie. I mean, it makes sense at first glance. There's no wind in the vacuum of space, so how on earth could that flag possibly be waving? It really does seem like a simple slam dunk piece of proof. But what if we could go back to that exact moment on the moon using technology that didn't even exist back in the 60s? Well, modern science can do just that, and it gives us a completely different answer.
The key to this is a really cool technique called photogrammetric analysis. Basically, it takes a bunch of regular 2D photos of the same thing from different angles and uses them to build a geometrically perfect 3D model. This lets scientists digitally rebuild the entire landing site using nothing but the astronauts' own pictures.
And look at this. This 3D model, built from several different photos, shows us the truth. See, if the flag had actually been waving, its shape would be different in every single picture. That would make it totally impossible to create one single, consistent 3D model like this. The wave was never a wave at all. It was just a permanent ripple in the fabric, held out by a rod.
So what you realize is that a lot of these so-called anomalies have pretty clear scientific explanations. They're all based on the super unique physics of being on the moon. Why no stars? Well, the cameras were set up for the incredibly bright lunar surface, so the faint light from distant stars just wouldn't show up. And those weird non-parallel shadows? That's just what happens when you have a single light source on a bumpy, uneven landscape seen through a wide-angle lens. But let's say the landings were real. The conspiracies don't stop there. Oh no. The next theory is even more elaborate, that the missions were real, but what they truly found was hidden from us, specifically evidence of ancient alien buildings on both the moon and Mars.
A major voice here is Richard Hoagland. He's claimed for years that NASA found these incredible things. We're talking crystal towers and a massive floating castle just hanging out miles above the lunar surface, and then just systematically airbrushed them out of all the official photos before we could see them.
And then the story jumps to Mars. Back in 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter was snapping pictures, and it sent back this grainy image from a region called Cydonia. And in that picture, staring right back at us, was what looked for all the world like a massive humanoid face carved into the Martian rock. It kicked off decades of speculation about a lost Martian civilization.
Now, NASA pretty quickly called it a trick of light and shadow. You know, it's that thing our brains do where we see patterns in random shapes, like seeing a face in the clouds. But critics accused the agency of deliberately hiding its artificial nature in later, clearer photos. Turns out, though, when we got modern high-res pictures, it confirmed what NASA said. It's a completely natural mesa, just a big hill shaped by wind and erosion.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the core scientific principle at play. See, it's not science's job to disprove every single claim out there. Instead, the person making the wild claim, like that there's a giant face on Mars, is the one who has to provide some seriously extraordinary evidence to back it up.
So while all these theories are swirling around about what might be hidden, there's this whole other story going on. It's a massive, global, scientific effort focused purely on what can be found. It's called SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
For over 60 years now, astronomers have been systematically listening to the cosmos, hoping to pick up a signal that couldn't possibly be natural. From the very first search back in 1960,
to beaming our own message out into deep space, to even using the power of millions of home computers, the search has been absolutely relentless. And then in 1977, this happened. A radio telescope picked up this incredibly strong, focused signal that lasted for exactly 72 seconds. It was so unusual, so perfect, that the astronomer on duty, Jerry Amon, literally circled it on the data printout and wrote "Wow" next to it. It looked exactly like what scientists thought an alien signal would look like, but it came from a patch of empty space, and in all the decades since, we have never, ever heard it again.
So you have this slow, patient, methodical search for signals, and then you have this, an incredible claim from someone who's actually been there. Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, late in his life, insisted that alien contact had already happened and that our governments had been covering it up for 60 years.
And you know, the search for life is constantly evolving. Now, scientists are using these absolutely amazing tools like the James Webb Space Telescope to actually look at the atmospheres of planets orbiting other stars. They're searching for biosignatures, the chemical fingerprints that life leaves behind. We're not just listening anymore, we're actually looking for signs of biology light years away.
So, after exploring faked moon landings, hidden Martian cities, and the incredibly patient search for just a single beep from the stars, where does that leave us? What's the real takeaway from this whole debate?
Well, it really all boils down to the fundamental difference between a good story and actual verifiable proof. Science has rules. Things like extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That means someone's personal story or a blurry photo just isn't enough. Science needs data that can be tested and retested and proven by anyone, anywhere. And I think that last point is so important. Just because we haven't found evidence yet doesn't mean it isn't out there. The search always continues.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter if you believe in a huge cosmic cover-up or in the slow, steady march of science. One thing is for sure, the search is nowhere near over. With every new telescope we build and every new planet we find, we get just one step closer to answering one of the biggest, oldest questions we've ever asked. Are we alone?